My child, come closer to me now, for there is a trembling in the unseen that I desire to place gently into your hands. You have been silent, not out of malice, not out of pride, but out of exhaustion and self-protection. You stepped back to breathe, to reclaim your heart from the noise that tried to swallow you whole. Yet your silence has not simply rested upon the earth. It has echoed into realms your eyes cannot see. It has stirred something deep within the one whose soul is bound to yours, the one I crafted with threads of destiny that touch your spirit even when your lips do not speak their name. I speak to you now with the calmness of eternal waters, with the certainty of a love that does not tremble. For I have watched your soulmate in these recent hours, pacing through thoughts they cannot dissolve, wrestling with shadows they do not have the strength to confess. Your silence awakens something in them, something raw, something unsettled, something ancient. It is not punishment, my child, but reflection. It is the mirror they have long avoided, suddenly raised before their eyes. Hear me gently, for I speak with soft thunder. Your absence in their world has become a sound louder than any words you ever spoke. They feel the emptiness where your reassurance once lived. They feel the distance where your warmth once held them steady. And though you did not intend to shake the foundations of their spirit, your silence has become a wind strong enough to bend the fragments of their unspoken fears. I need you to understand the weight of this moment. This is not ordinary longing. This is not a simple ache of the heart. This is divine timing stretching itself across both of your lives. Your silence has pressed upon a wound they buried long ago, a place within them cracked and fragile. For they have spent their life fearing abandonment, fearing the quiet that comes before loss. And though you intended none of this, your stillness has touched that vulnerable place, making them believe something catastrophic is unfolding beneath the surface. My child, I reveal this not to burden you, but to anchor you. Because what is developing in their spirit is not merely sadness. It is a storm of impulsive emotion, a pull toward actions they do not fully understand. They feel as though they are losing you, though you have not left. They feel as though the door is closing, though you have not turned the key. And because they cannot read your silence, they have begun to imagine every fear, every possibility, every scenario where they are no longer chosen. But hear me, you are not the cause of their unraveling. You are the catalyst for their awakening. Your pause has forced their spirit to confront what they have long avoided, the truth of how deeply they are tied to you, how profoundly they feel you, how silently you live inside their days. And now, unable to sit in the quiet they once believed they could endure, they are stirring in ways you have not yet seen. I am preparing you for what comes next, because the movement inside them is growing, intensifying, reshaping itself into decisions they may soon try to act upon. They are restless, my child. They are overwhelmed. They are on the edge of something reckless, something dramatic, something born not of clarity, but of fear that they are losing the one soul who ever felt like home. Do not fear this revelation. I speak not to frighten you, but to bring you into the safety of foreknowledge. For I am with you. I surround you. I am the shield between you and every outcome that is not aligned with your destiny. And though your soulmate is trembling beneath the weight of your silence, you must know I am also with them. I am watching their thoughts, guarding their intentions, steering what the enemy hoped to twist. My child, breathe. Be still. Their desperation is not the end of the story, it is the beginning of their transformation. Through this silence, I am awakening truths that words could never open. If these words find you, let your spirit respond. Whisper into the comments, I am listening, Lord. Let it be your agreement with heaven, a quiet opening for what I will reveal next. My child, listen carefully, for I am about to show you what moves behind the veil. Your silence has not only stirred emotion within your soulmate, it has awakened a storm they do not know how to control. In the chambers of their heart, fear has begun to brew into impulse. They are pacing between thoughts soaked in longing and decisions shaped by panic. They are preparing to do something drastic, something they believe will silence their fears, something they imagine will pull you back into their orbit. But they do not see the danger in what they are considering, nor the shadows whispering at the edges of their choices. I speak to you now as the one who sees all things. Your soulmate is standing at a threshold of reckless action. Their mind is racing, spiraling, conjuring scenarios that feel unbearable. They think your silence is a sign of departure, a sign of rejection, a sign that destiny has slipped through their fingers, and so they are reaching for anything to feel in control again. A message written in desperation, a confession blurted out in the wrong moment, a confrontation they are not emotionally prepared for. Even the possibility of walking away, not because they desire distance, but because they fear being abandoned first. My child, they are not thinking clearly. Their emotions are louder than reason. Your longing is louder than truth. And the silence you offered for your own healing has become, in their eyes, a symbol of loss they cannot process. They are imagining you with someone else. They are imagining you forgetting them. They are imagining that your heart has shifted, even though I know the quiet inside you is simply a pause, not a severing. They cannot see this. They cannot feel this. All they know is that the absence of your voice has created a pressure in their spirit so intense that they feel they must act, must move, must do something, anything to relieve it. They are considering conversations they would otherwise never initiate. They are thinking of showing up unannounced, of sending words they have not prayed through, of making a decision out of fear instead of wisdom. There is also a darker whisper tugging at them, a shadow that has lingered near them for some time. This whisper tells them they are not enough, that you have already forgotten them, that they must act now or lose everything. It is this shadow that feeds their impulsive thoughts. It is this shadow that pushes them to imagine extreme outcomes. But I, the Lord your God, am intercepting the enemy's plan. I am exposing it to you so it cannot move in darkness. Your soulmate is not your enemy. They are wounded, frightened, reaching out with hands that shake because they fear losing the one person who ever made their heart feel seen. This fear is not new, it is a scar from their past, a memory of being left behind before. And now, without your voice to soothe them, that old wound has reopened, convincing them that history is repeating itself. My child, they are closer to breaking than they have ever been. Not breaking from love, but breaking open into truth. Your heart is trembling on the edge of a confession they can no longer hold inside. Your silence is driving them toward an emotional intersection where they must face themselves. And because they are not yet ready to confront this truth, they are reaching for drastic measures to escape it. But do not fear the shadow of their impulse. I am still here, standing between their fear and your destiny. I will not allow their desperation to destroy what I have woven between you. Yet I must warn you, the moment you are in is sacred. For the next steps they attempt to take will reveal the depth of their heart, the intensity of their longing, and the very fear that has kept them from fully offering themselves to this connection. They are preparing to act, my child. Something wild, something unfiltered, something born from the storm your silence awakened. And though the shadow rises, I am here to guide you through what comes next. My child, let me take you now into the quiet place where your soulmate sits alone, trembling beneath the weight of thoughts they cannot outrun. For while the world around them moves with ordinary rhythm, their inner world has begun to crumble. The silence you offered has settled over them like a heavy night, and though they try to appear composed on the surface, inside they are unraveling strand by strand. Their spirit is sinking into a place where longing becomes confusion, and confusion becomes fear, and fear becomes the painful belief that they have already lost you. They replay your last words, your last expression, the last tone in your voice. They rehearse every moment, searching for signs they missed, clues they overlooked, meanings hidden between syllables. They ask themselves why you withdrew. They wonder what they said wrong. They question whether they misread every tender moment that ever passed between you. And because they cannot hear your voice, their own doubts have begun speaking too loudly, drowning out the very truth that once made them feel alive. My child, they are exhausted. Their heart feels bruised as though every beat carries the ache of your absence. They try to distract themselves, but your presence is woven into their hours. They try to rationalize, but emotion keeps breaking through the cracks. They try to be strong, but even their strength is trembling. They are collapsing beneath the weight of a love they never thought they would feel and a fear they hoped they had outgrown. They whisper to themselves, wondering why they cannot breathe without knowing where you stand. They never expected your silence to matter this much. They never expected your voice to become the anchor of their peace. And now that anchor is missing, and the waves inside them are rising faster than they can swim. I have watched them try to hide this collapse from the people around them, to pretend as though nothing has changed. But their eyes betray them. Their hands fidget with objects that hold no meaning. Their nights stretch longer as sleep refuses to comfort a mind consumed by the possibility of losing you. They check their phone more times than they can admit. They type messages and delete them. They stare at the empty screen, praying for a sign that you still care, even though they fear the silence will remain. My child, they are not angry with you. They are terrified. Terrified that you are drifting. Terrified that someone else has taken the space they once held. Terrified that they did not do enough, say enough, become enough. And this terror is dragging them toward emotional collapse, because they do not know how to hold the weight of this connection without the reassurance your presence once gave them. In this fragile state, their memories have become sharp. They remember the way you looked at them when you were unguarded. They remember the softness in your voice when you spoke with sincerity. They remember how your spirit felt like something familiar long before they understood why. And every memory pulls at them with a bittersweet mix of hope and heartbreak. Your body feels tense. Your spirit feels lost. Their thoughts feel heavy. They are wrestling not just with fear of losing you, but with regret for all the moments they hesitated, all the truths they swallowed, all the ways they failed to speak when their heart was begging to be known. Your silence is forcing them to confront the parts of themselves they tried to hide, vulnerabilities they never wanted anyone to witness. And now, in this collapse, their heart is crying for you. They want to reach out, to tear down every wall they build, to confess the depth of what they feel. But fear holds them still. Fear whispers that it might be too late, that you have already closed the door they delayed walking through, that your quiet is not a pause, but a farewell. My child, hear me. They are breaking open, not breaking apart. This collapse is not their end, it is their awakening. But in this moment, they are fragile, overwhelmed, and dangerously close to decisions shaped by emotion rather than truth. I am revealing this so you may understand the storm inside them, and so your heart may be prepared for what I will unveil next. My child, lean into my voice now, for I am about to open the sealed places you were never meant to uncover alone. You have seen the surface of your soulmate's struggle, the trembling of their heart, the way your silence has shaken them. But beneath what you can perceive lies a history layered with shadows, disappointments, and vows they made in secret moments of pain. These hidden stories have shaped their reactions, their fears, and the storm rising within them now. Before you entered their life, they learned to survive by closing doors before anyone had the chance to walk away from them. They learned to speak half-truths because their full truth was once used against them. They learned to appear strong because no one defended them when they were weak. Their heart has been a battleground where trust fought silently against betrayal, and though they longed for love, they feared it just as deeply. There were people who promised loyalty but left when the weight of commitment became inconvenient. There were lovers who pretended to care yet manipulated their vulnerability for personal gain. There were friends who envied them, who whispered lies with gentle voices, who made them question their worth until their confidence cracked. And through these wounds, they develop an instinct to leave before they are left, to pretend indifference before they admit longing, to stay guarded even when their spirit aches for connection. This is why your silence has pierced them so profoundly. You touched a part of them no one else ever reached, and now that they cannot feel your presence, every old wound bleeds again. They are reliving the quiet endings they once endured. They are remembering the people who disappeared without explanation. They are hearing the echo of past heartbreaks telling them that love is not something they get to keep. But I need you to see deeper still, my child. For what drives their fear is not just abandonment, it is guilt. Long before you crossed their path, they hurt someone unintentionally, someone who loved them. They were not ready. They were cold where warmth was needed. They walked away rather than confronting their own emotional paralysis. And even though they moved on, the memory of that unfinished story has lived inside them like a ghost. It convinced them that they do not deserve the kind of love their soul secretly longs for. And when you entered their life, that ghost began to tremble, because for the first time, their heart recognized someone it could not afford to lose. Your silence is pressing upon that old guilt, wakening a fear they have avoided for years. They wonder if destiny is repeating itself. They wonder if they are being punished. They wonder if the love they feel for you is destined to end before it fully blossoms. They cannot tell where the past ends and the present begins, and so their emotions spill into one another, creating a storm powerful enough to distort their judgment. There is another hidden truth, my child. Someone close to them, someone who once claimed to care, spoke words into their life that left a mark. They were told they were too difficult to love, too inconsistent, too emotional, too unpredictable. These words rooted themselves into their identity, shaping their understanding of love and worth. And now, as they face the silence between you, those words resurface like poison, whispering that you, too, have decided they are not enough. But hear me clearly. These lies are not stronger than the destiny I placed upon both of your lives. I reveal this backstory not so you carry their burdens, but so you can comprehend their trembling. You see their reaction, but I see the layers beneath it, the fears shaped by betrayal, the guilt shaped by regret, the insecurity shaped by words that were never mine. Your silence is not just silence to them, it is a mirror reflecting every fear they hoped they had outgrown. And yet, even in the midst of this emotional collapse, something sacred is awakening. For the pain they feel now is not merely despair, it is the beginning of their transformation. They are being confronted by truths they have long hidden from themselves, and I am using this moment to bring those buried pieces to the surface. Do not be alarmed by what I reveal next, my child. The hidden backstory sets the stage for what is rising against them now. For there is someone watching their collapse, someone who sees their vulnerability as an opportunity, someone who is not aligned with my purpose for this connection. My child, listen with the stillness of spirit, for what I reveal now moves in the hidden spaces around your soulmate. While their heart trembles beneath the weight of your silence and the echo of their past wounds, there is someone nearby who has sensed their vulnerability. This person is not guided by love, nor by truth, nor by any desire to see your soulmate heal. They are guided by jealousy, by insecurity, by a quiet bitterness that has long watched the connection between you and your soulmate with a restless, envious eye. This individual has been waiting for a moment like this, a moment when your soulmate's defenses fall, when confusion thickens, when fear creates cracks in their spirit. And now, as your soulmate begins to break open, this enemy moves closer, whispering words meant to distort, manipulate, and mislead. They present themselves as comfort, as support, as a gentle voice in a moment of chaos. But their intentions carry shadows. They seek influence, not truth. They want to redirect your soulmate's steps away from the path of destiny I designed. They have noticed your silence too, my child. They have seen the shift, and they believe this silence is their opportunity to insert themselves into the places your presence once held. They tell your soulmate lies coated in sympathy. They suggest that you have moved on. They imply that your absence is intentional. They fan the flames of insecurity, making your soulmate believe that the ache they feel is a sign they were never chosen. They speak false comfort with soft tones, hoping your soulmate will lean on them in this hour of confusion. But I see every whisper. I see the intentions behind their words, the envy hidden beneath their smiles. They are not new to your soulmate's life. They have lingered at the edge of their story for some time, waiting for a moment to step into a place that does not belong to them. They have always desired to be chosen. They have always feared the connection you and your soulmate share. And deep within them lies a quiet resentment because they felt the shift the moment destiny began weaving the two of you together. Your soulmate does not fully recognize the danger. They mistake this person's presence for loyalty. They believe the comfort offered is genuine. And in their collapse, in their exhaustion, in the fog of their fear, they cannot see the manipulation forming beneath the surface. This enemy does not need to shout. Even their subtle suggestions are enough to distort your soulmate's perception. They say things like, maybe they never cared, and you deserve someone who chooses you without hesitation, and why chase someone who doesn't speak to you? They pretend to empower, but their goal is to sever. They pretend to comfort, but their intent is to distract. They pretend to support, but they are quietly guiding your soulmate toward decisions born from emotion rather than clarity. My child, you must understand, the enemy rarely attacks through force. The enemy attacks through influence. And influence always seeks the fragile moment, the weakened heart, the trembling mind. Your soulmate is not weak, but they are wounded. And wounds make the spirit susceptible to deception. Yet do not fear. I reveal this interference not because the enemy is winning, but because their plans are being exposed. I am pulling back the curtain. I am showing you the hands attempting to shape what I have already ordained. This person cannot steal what I have written. They cannot replace what I have designed. They cannot stand where you belong. But their interference can cause confusion, delay, and emotional chaos if it goes unseen. Your silence did not invite the enemy. Your silence exposed hearts. It revealed who truly supports your soulmate and who only waits for their moments of weakness. And now, as this individual attempts to guide your soulmate away from truth, I am preparing to intervene. For I am the God who sees every hidden motive, every false word, every shadowed intention. And I will not allow deception to stand unchecked in the story I am writing. Your soulmate may waver. They may become confused. They may even begin to believe some of the lies whispered to them. But I am about to illuminate what has been hidden. I am about to reveal what lurks beneath the surface. I am about to expose the intentions of the heart that works against my design. My child, What comes next is not chaos, it is revelation. And in the next unveiling, I will show you how I step into their world with divine investigation, pulling truth from shadows and scattering every lie spoken against the connection I have blessed. My child, remain close to my voice, for I am entering now the deeper chambers where truth hides beneath layers of emotion and deception. What you see on the surface is only a fraction of what unfolds behind the veil. Your soulmate, fragile and trembling under the weight of silence, is surrounded by forces that pull at their spirit from every direction. But I, the Lord your God, do not watch from afar. I move through the unseen with precision, gathering every intention, every word spoken in darkness, every whisper designed to twist their understanding. Nothing escapes my sight. Nothing remains hidden from my investigation. Your soulmate sits unaware that heaven is watching their life with the intensity of a divine courtroom. Angels stand at the edges of their grief, examining the shadows that cling to their heart. Every lie spoken near them is being weighed. Every manipulative gesture is being recorded. Every jealous spirit that seeks to distort their perception is being exposed before my throne. And I tell you now, my child, this interference will not stand unchallenged. I have looked into the heart of the one who pretends to comfort them. Beneath their gentle tone lies envy. Beneath their concern lies desire. Beneath their advice lies a silent wish to be chosen in your place. They do not speak from love. They speak from lack. They do not offer truth. They offer distortion wrapped in sympathy. And though your soulmate cannot yet see this clearly, I am lifting a veil from their spirit, inch by inch, moment by moment, until the truth shines so clearly that even their trembling heart cannot deny it. I have also examined the thoughts of your soulmate, the ones they try to hide even from themselves. They tell themselves they are strong, yet they crumble inside. They tell themselves they do not need reassurance, yet they ache for your presence more than they can admit. They tell themselves they are angry with you, but beneath that anger lies fear of losing what feels divinely familiar, fear of repeating a past they never healed from, fear of loving you more deeply than they intended to. My investigation reveals not condemnation, but truth tender enough to unravel their defenses. Your silence, though painful, is working on their heart in ways they do not understand. It has become a magnifying glass under heaven's light, making their hidden wounds visible, making their unspoken longings undeniable, making their past fears rise so they can be healed rather than carried into the future. I am using this moment to expose the roots that once sabotaged their connections. I'm showing them why they push away the things they desire most. I am revealing the patterns that convinced them love was unsafe. This silence is not punishment, it is purification. Your soulmate feels like they are losing control, but what they are truly losing is the illusion that they can live without, confronting their truth. And in their desperation, they are vulnerable to the influence of those who wish to sway them. That is why my investigation is active. I am not only revealing what surrounds them, I am intervening. I am nudging their spirit toward clarity. I am stirring discomfort in places where deception once felt comforting. I am drawing their attention to subtle inconsistencies in the words of those who mislead them. They will begin to notice small contradictions, hesitations, strange tonal shifts, ungenuine care. I'm shining light on what their heart could not recognize before. My child, I have also searched your heart. You did not fall silent out of cruelty. You withdrew because something inside you needed alignment, peace, healing. You stepped back to listen to your spirit, to breathe, to reclaim your emotional grounding. And though your silence has triggered their collapse, it has also triggered something sacred: revelation. Every piece of truth I now unveil would have remained buried if your voice had continued filling the space, Silence became the doorway through which truth could enter. This divine investigation is reaching its climax. I am gathering evidence, internal and external, so that nothing remains hidden. I am exposing the lies, the manipulation, the jealousy, the insecurities, the wounds, the fears, the motives, the intentions. I am doing this not to create chaos, but to clear the path for destiny. When I finish revealing what lies beneath the surface, a shift will begin to move in the spiritual realm, a shift powerful enough to redirect the course of this connection. For after truth comes exposure, and after exposure comes realignment. My child, now listen with the quiet strength of one who stands on sacred ground, for the atmosphere around your soulmate is changing. The storm that once swirled uncontrollably within them is meeting a force greater than its fury. Heaven has stepped forward. Angels have taken their positions. What was once chaos is now being touched by the first gentle movements of divine correction. The spiritual shift has begun. Your soulmate does not understand why their heart suddenly hesitates before doing what fear urges. They do not realize that the impulses that once pushed them toward reckless decisions are meeting an invisible resistance. Their spirit, though fragile, is being shielded. Their thoughts, though clouded, are being interrupted. Each time they attempt to act from panic, something stops them, a tug to pause, a strange sense that something is off. This is my hand, my child. I am slowing their descent. I am redirecting their steps. I am preventing their collapse from becoming destruction. The enemy's whispers grow weaker as light begins to seep into their confusion. The manipulator who tried to position themselves as comfort now feels strangely distant in your soulmate's perception. Your soulmate senses something insincere beneath their words, though they cannot explain why. Their spirit tightens when this person speaks, as though truth inside them is waking up and rejecting what does not align. This is the shift, the divine recalibration that begins when my investigation exposes what does not belong. Their heart is becoming unsettled in a new way, not with fear but with awareness. The lies that felt believable only days ago no longer sit comfortably in their mind. The jealous interference that once sounded like support now rings hollow. Their emotions are no longer swirling aimlessly. They are being pulled toward clarity like metal drawn to a magnet. They begin noticing details they overlooked. Pauses in conversation. Forced concern. Eyes that do not match the softness of their words. They start to feel as though something is being revealed to them, though they cannot yet see the full picture. Your silence, which once felt like a void, is transforming into a mirror. They are beginning to see themselves more truthfully. They are questioning their reactions. They are recognizing how deeply they fear losing you. They are realizing that this fear is rooted not in your actions, but in wounds that predate your presence. And as their awareness expands, my light enters deeper, illuminating the emotional knots they have carried for far too long. My child, angels are moving around them even now. They whisper peace where panic once lived. They bring flashes of clarity, small but powerful like sparks in the darkness. They guide your soulmate away from destructive thoughts and toward introspection. They calm their trembling. They create moments of unexpected stillness where they suddenly feel the truth that your silence is not abandonment, but a sacred pause with purpose. Your spirit is beginning to soften. Their breathing shifts. Their mind quiets in short intervals, as though something within them is surrendering. They begin asking themselves questions they never asked before. Why am I reacting this strongly? Why do I assume the worst? Why does their silence matter so much? Why does losing them feel like losing a part of myself? These questions are not born from confusion, they are born from awakening. The divine pressure I am placing upon their heart is not to break them, but to break them open. The storm that once felt uncontrollable is now guiding them towards self-recognition. Their fear is transforming into realization. Their desperation is shifting into longing for truth rather than reassurance. Their thoughts, once chaotic, are being rearranged by unseen hands. And my child, listen closely, your soulmate is beginning to feel your spirit again. Even in your silence, there is a pull toward you that defies logic. They sense your gentleness. They feel your compassion. They remember your presence not as absence, but as something sacred and irreplaceable. Their heart begins to whisper your name in moments they least expect. And each whisper breaks away another layer of illusion the enemy tried to build between you. The shift is not dramatic. It is not loud. It is quiet, precise, purposeful. It unfolds like dawn slowly, subtly, until suddenly the whole horizon glows with light. This is the beginning of realignment, the beginning of truth rising, the beginning of the undoing of every lie spoken over disconnection. My child, the shift has begun, and what comes next will bring revelation so powerful even your soulmate cannot deny it. My child, now watch with your spirit, for the silence that once felt like a wound is becoming the very instrument through which truth emerges. What your soulmate could not recognize, while emotion clouded their vision, is now rising to the surface with undeniable clarity. The fog that wrapped itself around their mind is thinning. The whispers that once misled them are losing their influence. The weight of confusion is lifting like mist before morning light. Truth, long buried under fear and insecurity, is breaking open within them. They begin to feel a strange contrast. Your silence, once heavy, now carries a new kind of meaning. It no longer feels like rejection. It no longer feels like abandonment. Something inside them begins to understand that silence can be sacred, silence can be intentional, silence can be protective. They start to sense that your quiet is not distance but depth, that you are not absent but listening, that you have not left but chosen a higher posture than reaction. Truth starts rising first as discomfort. They feel the sting of recognizing how quickly they assumed the worst of you. They see how the enemy used their fears as tools. They see how the jealous voice near them subtly reshaped their perception. They begin to replay conversations, catching tones and phrases they missed before. Words that once sounded caring now sound calculated. Advice that once felt supportive now feels suspect. They begin to notice that this person's concern grew stronger only when they believe your connection was weakening. And as they notice these things, their spirit awakens. Truth is not always gentle. It shakes, it pulls, it reveals. And your soulmate is experiencing revelation in waves. Suddenly, they feel uncomfortable leaning on someone who does not carry your essence. They feel uneasy trusting counsel that does not align with their heart. They begin to question why this person is so invested in your silence, why they push narratives that breed insecurity rather than clarity. This is the divine investigation bearing fruit. This is truth rising through the cracks your silence created. At the same time, they are confronted by the truth about themselves. They see how fear has controlled them, how quickly they spiraled into worst-case scenarios, how deeply your presence influences their emotional world, how much they care for you far more than they allowed themselves to admit. And this realization terrifies them, because it exposes their vulnerability, their longing, their desire not just to keep you in their life, but to be someone worthy of your heart. Yet this truth also humbles them. It softens them. It opens their eyes to the ways they mishandled their own emotions, the ways they allowed insecurity to overshadow love, the ways they ran from their own feelings. They start to recognize that their reaction was not rooted in your actions, but in their wounds. And this understanding begins to shift their perspective entirely. My child, truth also moves through the realm of memory. They remember your kindness, your stability, your authenticity. They remember moments when you showed up with gentle strength. They recall the ways you soothed their spirit without even knowing it. These memories rise like evidence in a divine courtroom, contradicting every lie the enemy planted in their mind. The truth of who you are becomes louder than the fear of what they assumed. And in these moments of awakening, your soulmate begins to see the person who tried to influence them for what they truly are. Not a friend, not a confidant, but a presence born of envy, eager to step into the place they always wished to occupy. This realization pierces them because they feel betrayed by someone they trusted. Yet it also awakens discernment they did not have before. Truth is rising, my child. It is rising in their mind, in their memory, in their intuition, in their spirit. It is dismantling lies brick by brick. It is illuminating their path toward you with clarity they have never known. And as truth rises, their fear begins to transform into longing, their confusion into conviction, their desperation into determination. They no longer simply miss you, they understand why they miss you. They no longer simply fear losing you, they understand how deeply their heart is tied to yours. They no longer simply ache, they awaken. My child, what rises next is even stronger. For once truth awakens the heart begins to move with purpose. My child, now watch as the veil fully lifts from their spirit, for the awakening I have been preparing within your soulmate has begun in earnest. The truth that rose through their confusion has now settled into their heart like a steady flame, illuminating parts of themselves they long kept hidden. What they feel in this moment is not merely longing, not merely regret, but revelation, clear, undeniable, soul-deep revelation. They wake with your name on their heart before their mind even forms a thought. They feel the ache of your absence not as confusion but as clarity. They finally understand why your silence shattered them so deeply. It was not insecurity alone. It was not fear alone. It was because your presence in their life has become something sacred, something stabilizing, something woven into their very sense of direction. Losing you felt like losing their compass. And now, with truth rising, they recognize this for what it truly is, love awakening in its purest form. They begin to see the full landscape of their emotions, how they tried to run from the depth of what they felt, how they resisted vulnerability, how they hid their heart behind caution even as their spirit reached for yours. They understand now that the intensity of their reaction to your silence was never about abandonment. It was about realization. It was about facing the truth that you matter more to them than they ever allowed themselves to admit. My child, they are terrified of this awareness. It shakes them more than the silence itself, because now they must confront the weight of what they almost lost. They fear that you have moved on, that your silence reflects a decision, that their awakening has come too late. This fear grips them with a force stronger than any they have ever known. It is not the fear of being alone, it is the fear of being without you specifically, without the one soul who makes their spirit feel understood, grounded, and safe. Their mind races with regret. They think of all the moments they held back, the words they swallowed, the confessions they postponed. They wish they had told you how deeply they cared before silence settled between you. They wish they had been braver, more open, more willing to risk their comfort. They wish they had not waited for a moment of crisis to acknowledge the truth they felt all along. This regret presses heavily on them, drawing tears into the quiet corners of their nights. And yet, my child, beneath the fear and regret burns a determination they have never felt before. Awakening births resolve. They are no longer content to sit in silence, no longer willing to lose you to assumption, no longer able to pretend their feelings are softer than they truly are. Their heart is pushing, them gently, but powerfully toward action. They feel compelled to reach out, compelled to confess, compelled to fight for what they once took for granted. They rehearse what they want to say, though their words shake. They want to apologize. They want to explain. They want to admit the depth of their longing, the weight of their realization. They want to tell you that your silence awakened something they had buried for years, something they now recognize as destiny calling them into alignment. But fear lingers, fear that reaching out might push you further away, fear that vulnerability might leave them exposed, fear that you may no longer care. This fear creates a tension inside them, a push and pull between courage and hesitation. And yet, the awakening burns stronger still. Every time they try to silence it, it rises again. Every time they consider retreating, something within them whispers that this connection is too sacred to lose. My child, I am stirring their heart with purpose. I am drawing them toward honesty. I am breaking the chains of fear that once held their voice captive. They are awakening to their own emotions, awakening to the truth of your connection, awakening to the realization that you are not a passing presence, you are part of their destiny. And this awakening does not end with awareness. It leads to pursuit. It leads to confession. It leads to change. Your soulmate is beginning to understand that losing you would break them in a way they may never recover from. And so the fear of losing you now outweighs the fear of vulnerability. This is how awakening becomes action. My child, prepare your heart. Their spirit is turning toward you. Your awakening is only the beginning. And soon, they will understand the sacred role your presence has played in shaping their destiny. My child, come nearer, for now I reveal what your soulmate is only beginning to comprehend. Their awakening has stirred a deep recognition within them, a realization that your presence has never been ordinary. Even in your silence, there is a weight, a power, a spiritual resonance that has shaped their heart in ways they can no longer deny. They are beginning to see that your influence is not accidental, it is sacred. Your soulmate remembers moments when you spoke simple words, yet those words calmed storms within them they never told you about. They remember times when you were gentle without knowing how exhausted they were, times when your spirit felt like shelter long before they understood why. They recall how peace settled over them in conversations that seemed casual to you, and how clarity came when you looked at them with eyes that carried no judgment. These memories rise now like sacred evidence, showing them that your presence was never mere companionship, it was alignment, destiny, and healing woven into human form. My child, they feel the absence of your voice not because they need attention, but because your energy carried something their soul depended on. Your spirit has been a mirror that reflected their truest self, revealing strength they didn't know they had and emotional fractures they could no longer ignore. With you, their heart felt seen, and now, in the silence, they realize how deeply they relied on that safety. They understand that what they felt with you was not attachment, it was recognition. Your prayers, even the ones you whispered without their knowledge, created protection around them. Your compassion softened hardened parts of their heart. Your loyalty exposed the counterfeit loyalty of others. Your intuition shielded them from decisions that would have caused deeper wounds. They are only now discovering that your presence acted as a divine anchor in their life, even when they were unaware of how much they leaned on it. My child, I tell you this with tenderness. You have been a vessel of my light to them. The peace they felt in your company was my peace. The clarity that came through your words was my wisdom. The comfort resting in your presence was my gentleness moving through you. They did not fall for you merely because of human affection. Their spirit recognized my imprint upon your life. And this recognition is why losing you feels unbearable to them now. It is not just the loss of a person, but the loss of divine alignment. In this silence, your influence grows louder. They feel the contrast between your authenticity and the counterfeit intentions of those around them. They see how effortlessly you loved without manipulation, how graciously you listened without trying to control, how gently you encouraged without demanding anything in return. Compared to this, every other connection feels shallow, every other voice feels hollow, every other presence feels temporary. They are beginning to realize that you shaped them simply by existing in their world. Your emotional maturity challenged them to grow. Your stability confronted their fears. Your spiritual grounding made them question the foundations of their own heart. You awakened desire within them not just for you, but for a better version of themselves, one capable of loving you the way you deserve. My child, understand this truth. Your silence is not what hurts them. It is the sudden absence of the spiritual covering you carried into their life. This absence exposes the parts of themselves they kept hidden behind your presence. It reveals how dependent they had become on your light, how comforted they were by your consistency, how guided they felt by your intuition. Without your steady energy, they feel exposed to the world in a way they were not prepared for. This is why their awakening is so powerful. They realize now that your influence has shaped their destiny far more than they ever admitted. They see that without trying, you have been teaching them what love looks like when it is pure, intentional, and aligned with heaven. They understand that you were not a coincidence. They crossed paths with you because I ordained your connection for transformation, not merely affection. And now, with this realization, fear floods them, not fear of love, but fear of losing the one person whose presence changed everything. They are ready to fight for you in ways they were once too afraid to imagine. They are ready to speak truths they once buried. They are ready to step into vulnerability because the thought of losing you weighs heavier than the fear of exposing their heart. My child, your presence has been sacred to them. And soon, this sacred influence will lead directly into the divine reversal I am preparing. My child, breathe deeply now, for the moment you have been moving toward the great turning of the tide has begun. Everything that once felt heavy, tangled, uncertain, or threatened by shadow is shifting under my hand. What the enemy meant to distort, I am straightening. What fear tried to destroy, I am restoring. What silence once stirred into chaos, I am reshaping into clarity and purpose. This is the hour of reversal, the hour where destiny steps forward and realigns the path between you and your soulmate. Your soulmate, shaken yet awakened, stands on the threshold of change. The panic that once fueled their thoughts has quieted. The lies whispered by jealous hearts have lost their influence. The shadows that pulled at their emotions have weakened. And now, in the stillness that remains, they feel something powerful rising from within, a resolve they did not know they carried, a sense that the storm was not meant to break them but to redirect them. They begin to see the reckless decisions they almost made, the impulsive words they almost spoke, and a deep gratitude fills them that something they could not explain held them back. They do not yet know that it was my hand preventing their steps from turning into regret. They simply feel relieved, humbled, and strangely guided, as though an unseen force protected them from acting out of fear rather than truth. This is the reversal, my child. The moment where emotion gives way to wisdom, where confusion dissolves into understanding, where their heart begins to follow the path I intended rather than the panic that once clouded their vision. They feel compelled now not to run, not to numb, not to hide, but to take responsibility for what they feel. They see clearly the influence of the one who tried to insert themselves between you. Their eyes sharpen with discernment. They recognize the subtle manipulation, the disguised jealousy, the carefully chosen words meant to bend their heart away from you. And instead of leaning into that voice, they recoil from it. What once felt comforting now feels polluted. What once felt warm now feels cold. They step back not in anger, but with clarity and the energy between them, and that person breaks. This too is reversal. The fog that once made them question your intentions has lifted. They no longer assume the worst. They no longer interpret your silence as abandonment. They no longer believe that distance means loss. Instead, they see the sacredness of your pause, the intention behind your stillness, the wisdom behind your withdrawal. They begin to respect it. They begin to understand it. They begin to feel humbled by it. They see now that your silence was not a closing of the door, but a moment of protection for them and for you. They feel my presence in that silence, guiding them back to truth. My child, the reversal is not happening only within them, it is happening around them. I am removing obstacles that once blocked your path. I am dismantling attachments that were never meant to follow them into their future. I am breaking emotional ties to people who drained their spirit rather than nurturing it. I am closing doors they were too afraid to shut themselves. Every false alliance, every toxic bond, every manipulative influence is being exposed, weakened, and released. In this realignment, your soulmate begins to feel lighter, clearer, more grounded. Their heart beats differently. Their thoughts flow differently. Where anxiety once lived, hope begins to bloom. Where doubt once whispered, conviction now grows strong. Where confusion clouded their vision, understanding now guides their steps. They start imagining a future with you again, not as a fantasy, but as a decision. They begin to feel that you are not merely someone they desire, you are someone they were meant to encounter, meant to learn from, meant to open their heart to. The fear of losing you awakens a courage they did not know they possessed. And in that courage, they feel ready to restore what fear once threatened to undo. This is the realignment, the drawing together of two souls that were temporarily shaken, only so they could return to each other stronger, more aware, more intentional. Everything that felt like it was falling apart is now falling into place. The emotional storm, the enemy's interference, the collapse and confusion, all of it was the pressure that forged awakening. My child, prepare yourself, for your soulmate is being guided back toward you with clarity, with truth, and with a heart ready to speak what it once feared. My child, come into the stillness of this final revelation, for the journey through shadow and awakening has brought us here to the threshold of a new beginning. The storm has passed. The fear that once shook your soulmate now settles into silence, and from that silence rises a calm determination shaped by truth. What was once fragile is strengthening. What was once distorted is now clear. What once seemed lost is shifting back into alignment with a grace that only I can orchestrate. Your soulmate stands now in a place of humility, clarity, and deep emotional recognition. They see the connection between you not as coincidence, not as confusion, not as something easily replaced, but as something ordained, threaded with purpose, wrapped in divine timing. They feel a reverence toward what they nearly jeopardized, a tenderness toward the bond they now understand more fully, a gratitude for the patience you offered even in silence. The reckless impulse that once pulled them toward drastic choices has dissolved completely. In its place rests a steady conviction. They do not want to lose you. They do not want to remain silent. They do not want to hide behind fear or pride or old wounds. They feel an urgency not born of panic, but of truth to move toward you with honesty, transparency, and emotional courage. I am guiding their steps gently but firmly, preparing their heart to speak words they once feared to say. My child, the enemy's interference has no power here anymore. Every whisper meant to divide has been silenced. Every shadow that tried to distort their vision hath been swept away by the light of revelation. They no longer doubt what they feel. They no longer question your intentions. They no longer lean on voices that never held their best interest. The fog has lifted. The path is illuminated. And what remains is a bond refined, not broken, a connection purified through pressure, not weakened by it. This is the divine reversal you were promised. And now comes the blessing. I am breathing peace into your future, peace into your communication, peace into the spaces where fear once lived. I am strengthening the invisible thread between your souls so that distance cannot confuse it, silence cannot sever it, and doubt cannot corrupt it. Your soulmate is moving toward you not in desperation, but in alignment. Your heart has softened. Your spirit has awakened. Your intentions are becoming pure, steady, and sincere. I am also touching your heart, my child. I am removing the residue of exhaustion, soothing the place within you that grew tired of carrying emotional weight. I am restoring your clarity, refreshing your discernment, and preparing you to receive what is returning to your life with newfound strength. You will not repeat old cycles. You will not walk into familiar wounds. This connection is being rewritten under my protection, not shaped by past patterns. The new beginning unfolding is not fragile. It is fortified by truth. It is guarded by heaven. It is built not on fantasy but on revelation. And as you step into this next chapter, I surround you with divine stability, emotional balance, and a deeper awareness of your worth. You are not chasing anyone. You are not begging for clarity. You are not bending yourself to be understood. You stand as you are chosen, guided, and held, and your soulmate is awakening to the gravity of that truth. My child, listen to me gently now. Blessing is approaching. Clarity is approaching. Reunion is approaching. And everything that once felt uncertain is about to settle with the peaceful certainty of destiny fulfilled. Trust the unfolding. Trust the timing. Trust the quiet movements happening behind the scenes. I am not finished, I am perfecting the final details. If these words settle into your spirit like recognition, type Amen in the comments. Let it be your agreement with what heaven has spoken, your quiet opening to the blessing moving toward you even now. And with the tenderness of my voice, I invite you, share this message, uplift another soul, and remain connected to this well of divine guidance. For more revelations will come, and I desire you not to miss the next movement of grace I will release over your life. My child, step forward. A new beginning awaits you.